Welcome to What is Wednesday here on I'm Your Target Demographic. Today we are covering Stargate, the movie, and then 3 spin-off TV shows. So this is for people that have never seen Stargate, but have heard people talk about it. What is it about? Why do people watch it? So let's dive in. In 1994, a movie called Stargate came out. Kurt Russell and James Spader starred, and the plotline featured an ancient circular artifact called a Stargate that transported people to a planet inhabited by people resembling ancient Egyptians. Turns out that an alien overlord named Ra had enslaved humans on various planets, all speaking the same Egyptian dialect. Spader's character, an Egyptologist, was able to communicate with them. They eventually defeat Ra, who is not a god at all, but rather an alien parasite that takes over human hosts, and they free this planet of slavery. Kurt Russell's character returns to Earth, while Spader stays on the planet. So that was the movie, but then in 1997, a TV show came out, starting on Showtime and ending up on the Sci-Fi Channel. The show brought back the characters from the movie but recast them. The show was titled Stargate SG1, named after a group of explorers who would travel through the Stargate to different planets. In the movie, the team only used the Stargate to travel to one planet, but the television show played around with the idea that they could, using mysterious symbols on the Stargate, set the Stargate to travel to many far distant planets. Each episode usually revolved around the team discovering a planet, meeting its inhabitants, and facing unique problems. The larger arc for the first few seasons involved the same parasitic creatures as the movies, who are now capturing and enslaving planets in the wake of Ra's death. Once the writers felt that they exhausted the Egyptian mythology, they began to expand into other territories. When they got to Norse mythology, they introduced little gray aliens that turned out to be beings like Odin and Thor. They played into myths like King Arthur when they revealed that Merlin wasn't a wizard, but rather an ancient alien who was partially responsible for creating the Stargates. Stargate SG1 lasted 10 seasons and had 2 straight-to-DVD movies. During SG1's last few seasons, they debuted a second spin-off show called Stargate Atlantis. While SG1 focused on the team traveling to different planets each week, Atlantis was named after a city on a distant planet that was found by explorers from Earth. They slowly rebuilt the city and learned about its purpose. A majority of episodes were based on Atlantis itself as different events unfolded, as opposed to the exploratory nature of SG1. Atlantis was also a darker show in most ways, tending to have longer and more serious arcs, while SG1 was often funny and campy in nature. The breakout star from Atlantis was Jason Momoa, who went on to Game of Thrones and is soon to be Aquaman in the DC Cinematic Universe. Atlantis lasted 5 seasons. And during Atlantis' last season, a third spin-off show debuted called Stargate Universe. The basic gist for this show was that a team of explorers end up using a supercharged energy to travel to a faraway spaceship equipped with a Stargate. Since they don't have the same energy on the ship, they can't travel back. And they find out that this ship is actually on a mission and they can't seem to stop it. To make matters worse, they now have to find ways to survive, including finding food, water, and eventually a way home. SGU is the darkest of the 3 shows, having very little humor. Their situation is dire and draining, causing these characters to be much more willing to go to drastic measures to try and save themselves, sometimes at the expense of others. SGU only lasted 2 seasons, either due to its tonal shift from the other shows, or perhaps Stargate fatigue. So for a show to last this long, it must be pretty incredible. So why did people watch Stargate? The Stargate series, especially SG1, was all about balance. There were really interesting multiple season arcs, yet there were also fantastic standalone episodes. It had decent visual effects, enough to still draw you in, but it really succeeded by creating a small team of engaging characters. It followed a formula made popular by video games and role-playing games long ago, where the team is composed of different roles. But instead of roles like warrior, wizard, and cleric, we see teams of scientists, soldiers, and medics. As we lost characters, they'd refill with someone in a similar role for the team. The Stargate series was also popular because of the mythology that they created. These big, multiple-season arcs. They had compelling villains, some great interstellar battles, and decent special effects that only got better as the seasons progressed. In terms of cultural knowledge, the show surprisingly had very little impact, even though it spanned 14 years across the 3 shows. It didn't have quite the same mainstream appeal that shows like Battlestar Galactica had, but it still had a sizable fan base. So that is the basic gist about Stargate, the movie, SG1, Atlantis, and SGU, Stargate Universe. So hopefully this made sense to you if you've never seen the show. That's basically what it's about, that's why people watched it, and that's what is Stargate. So stay tuned to I'm Your Target Demographic, where each week we're going to explain something like this. So we'll see you for next week's What Is Wednesday.
Well, I suppose now is the time for me to say something profound.